It's the country's #1 RVing radio show, sponsored by RVTravel.com, with your host, Alan Warren, the RV Wingman.
All right, Alan Warren, the RV Wingman here, and you know, if you're like me, you probably spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos about RVing, and I think many of them are great and very informative, but you know, many of them are also kind of lame. I stumbled upon a channel called RV Masters that I really like. I like it a lot. From RV Masters, we have its host, David Crossett. Hey, David, nice to meet you.
Hey, good to meet you. Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, you bet. So give our listeners the, I guess, the short story on you and RV Masters and what it's all about.
Well, great. Thank you. I, like many people, had purchased an RV. It was an impulse purchase. I had made that purchase and brought it home. And like many people, in anticipation of bringing it home, I tried to look up a lot of YouTube videos, tried to figure out, how to use it. I didn't know what I didn't know, of course. So I just found myself really frustrated because here I was, I just bought this, big, expensive piece of machinery, and I really didn't feel supported. I didn't feel like I really got, and it wasn't about the walkthrough. I just didn't understand the technology, how to use it. And then I just realized, hey, with what's out there, I think I can do this better. I think I can learn to use it. I lived in it for 2 years. I think I can teach people what it is I wish I knew when I bought mine.
I stumbled across your channel several months ago, and I watched some of the things. And at first, I thought it was just a YouTube channel, but then I learned, the YouTube is sort of like a teaser. I mean, you have these courses, and I think I'm on lesson 11 or 12 now, but are you a teacher by trade? Because you do a terrific job, David.
Well, thanks for that. I just see the world a certain way, and I've always had the knack to be able to articulate that, share that with others. I do have a background in education. I'm mostly a technology guy, but I've always been able to explain concepts, kind of drill things in a way that just makes sense, that is somewhat entertaining. It keeps people at least engaged. And so I've got a little bit of a background in education, and of course the way I put the materials together is very 1, 2, 3, kind of step-by-step learning. And I enjoy doing it. My enthusiasm, I think, shows. I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I love it. So seriously, your YouTube channel is kind of like a tease to get people to get a feel for what your course is like. When I started taking the lessons, I'm putting my hat on as a newbie, as somebody that doesn't really know very much. It's just so basic, and it's not rocket science, but it's valuable information that many RVers don't get, except they learn it the hard way over, spending the first summer of RV ownership fighting with their spouse because they're trying to learn how everything works, and you help eliminate all that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that you don't know what you need to get started. A lot of times you're told it's like a house on wheels. It's going to be really easy. Don't worry about it. It's just like a house. You'll figure it out. And I think for most people, that's not the case. That's not what ends up happening, because these things are, of course, can be complex. It's difficult to know what you need to know. And I do have a knack for remembering what it was like when I started. I've shared this program. I've shared this with people in the industry, and a lot of them, it's lost on them. A lot of them think, well, what's this? This is so basic. There's not value in it. And I'm saying exactly opposite. When you don't know where to start, who can start you at square one, and what is square one? And I think I defined that pretty well.
So I was going to ask about the industry. What has been in general? I mean, the industry is like talking about Washington, but in general, dealers or manufacturers that you've visited with and seen your courses, are they quite receptive to it? Because I would think that they want their customers to, this would handle a lot of their future problems if their customers just had this kind of education.
The reception by the industry, I would say it's been rather cool. It's been a rather cool reception. Many dealers believe that they do enough with the walkthrough, that 30-minute to 1 hour walkthrough after you purchase an RV, they feel that is sufficient to get people started, though they kind of know that. I do have some experience in the industry and working with dealers as a means of providing this video series, that was the original idea, was, maybe these people can get this video at the purchase and therefore have the education they need, know what the components are, what the pieces are. Maybe it'll help with the walkthrough if it makes more sense if they learn it up front. And for the most part, it was just a pretty resounding no from the industry side of the RV industry.
And here comes the skeptical part of the RV wingman here, but there's a side of me that says, you know what? They don't have to teach. I mean, there's so many people buying RVs, next, and they're just, at least up until recently, they've been selling them as fast as they can make them.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Another way to put that is businesses they do what's in the best interest of the business. And if the business doesn't require it, or if the customers don't require it, then basically they're not going to do that. And like you say, the RV industry's had, record years. Dealers are doing really good. They're flying off the shelves, so to speak. And because I would say up to half, I don't know what the stat is, but at least my experience and what I've spoken with other salespeople and dealers, half of people buy RVs, both motorized and trailers, on impulse. They buy on impulse. They literally, in 30 minutes, they go from, we might think about an RV someday, to going home with an invoice. And I've done it myself.
Wow.
I've been a salesperson and done that. And because of that, it's difficult for there to be a unified consumer voice demanding change, because most of us don't realize we're consumers for RVs until it happens.
Yeah, because it is so impulsive. It's I call it intoxicating. You walk into a nice RV and it's like, oh my, you go to a different world, and that's what they want. But that's what
happened when I went to look for my RV. I just wanted to test drive one. My accountant had talked me into taking a look at it. I went down, I arranged a test drive, and in 30 minutes, I just bought the equivalent of my home mortgage. In 30 minutes, I bought an RV.
And you didn't know much about them?
I knew nothing. I had about a week of research into it.
So why do you think that more RVers are not interested in training and education? Is it just because it is so impulsive and they just realize, it's like, hey, I'll figure it out later?
I think that there's a little bit probably ego. I would point to ego, and maybe not in the way that you think. It's ego in the sense that, the expert in the industry, the salespeople, the dealership, they told me this is easy. They told me I got this. They told me I'm going to be able to figure this out. And so if I have to reach out for help, what's wrong with me? What am I not doing right? And so I think that plays into some people's hesitancy to recognize, I know you spent every dollar on this RV you didn't intend to, but a little bit more time and homework is going to be well worth it down the road.
I own a campground myself, and I can see these people, exactly what you're talking about, the brand new RV, and you could see that they're stumped. They're trying to figure out how to hook this up and what to do next, and they don't want to ask for help. It's like, I should have known this. Their brain, they forget what they learned during their walkthrough, and that's why that educational component is so important. Thank God most RVers are helpful, because we've all been there. We've all seen that look of, I don't know what to do, and someone has bailed us out, but it's a whole lot easier if we learned it before we get there. And your courses, I think, at least so far, they're designed to do exactly that. How long has RV Masters, this series of courses, been on the market, David?
Oh, gosh. So I've been doing this for about 2.5 years at this point. The courses, I originally did live trainings. I did actual, in the parking lot, driving in circles, and then out on town with people. Mm-hmm. I then took all of that experience and education and moved it into a video series, I think maybe late 2017. So that's when the videos actually got started. So a couple of years now.
All right, listen, we're going to have to jump here for a commercial break. Can you hang on? I'd love to pick it up on the other side, talk about the different courses that you offer. And can you hang with us?
Yeah, you betcha.
All right, beautiful. We got David Crossett on the line with us, folks, from RV Masters. And you need to check him out. He's got a really great series of courses that no matter how smart you are, I promise you'll learn a little bit more and you'll feel much more confident in your RVing. I'm Alan Warren, the RV Wingman. Back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Alan Warren, the RV Wingman, with you, and we're visiting with a super smart guy that has taken his smarts and his love for RVing. He's packaged a video series that looks not only impressive, but I think is also quite unique. From RVmasters.com, David Crossett. So, David, tell me about the different courses, not just one course, and how they differ from all the other stuff that we see online that is trying to teach people how to do stuff.
Well, you bet. I started out with, even though the video titles are somewhat along the lines of an orientation, I realized that there's a lot more that people need to understand. So, for example, I have a video series on fifth wheels, a video series on trailers, and a video series on Class A's or motorized. And what I learned was that through the walkthrough, people, for the most part, whether they spent an hour or even 4 hours, they don't remember everything that's covered. They take notes, but then they're out of context. They don't remember, what goes where and why and how. And so it's also much more than just a walkthrough. Of course, I walk through, I show all the different components. This is how this works. But I also cover concepts. So you would know, of course, yourself, the concept of power, understanding AC power versus DC power. What is powered by the batteries? What is powered by the motor? What is powered by, an inverter or the shore cord? So I kind of go off script to lay out the actual concepts so that you understand what's happening, and then here are the components that make that thing happen.
And they're done in, some of them are only a couple of minutes long, because they don't need to be very long. And some of them are 7 or 8 or 10 or however many minutes to get the point across. But you're very, very focused on whatever that is, whether, like you're talking about electrical systems or the sewage system, the heating and air, but you're very, very focused on whatever the item happens to be. And there's a lot of categories, man, a lot.
There are. It turns out to be, it's the whole library is a couple hundred videos. There is a lot to touch and a lot to know, and I do break the components down because some components you'll see it once, you learn how to use it, and that's the end of it. Others you're going to want to see multiple times, and so I set the training up so that you can search out exactly what you're looking for. You may not need a couple of different of the videos, and so you can kind of hone down on just the important ones. So I kind of broke it down into really digestible pieces.
You had said something in the previous segment about there's almost a pride thing, ego or whatever, that you don't want to look like you're not very smart, so you won't ask for help. And those questions, everybody's has questions, but the answers are in courses like yours. Why are your courses not free? I know because you got a jillion hours into it, and good things cost money. But there's a lot of stuff that's free out there. But talk to me about that.
There is. So, when I got my RV, I spent, I'm not kidding, I had to have watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. And the problem with, for example, YouTube, a lot of people think, I can get what I need on YouTube. There's a couple problems with that. One is you don't know the quality of the information that you're going to get. There's a little bit of a trend right now of full-time RVers, people that live in their RV, sharing their adventures and doing videos, and a couple of them are starting to turn into some how-tos, but they're very kind of laissez-faire. They're just whatever, this is how we do it, and it's not really an educational-based approach.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, with those full-time RVers doing that, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all. But on YouTube, you have to know what it is to research. You have to know what it is you're looking for. So, for example, do you know when you first buy an RV to go to YouTube and learn the differences and how to use the propane side of the water heater versus the electric side of the water heater? Or did you know that your water heater had both? Well, a lot of times on YouTube, you don't end up researching what you need to until after you've had the negative event happen that drove you to that research. So the idea of my training is to get ahead of that, to get in front of it as, hey, let's head off all the mistakes that nearly everybody makes.
And what about, a lot of RVers, most of us can't take off as much as we want to, and we may only RV 10 to 15 times a year. To get educated on how everything works in my RV, but taking a year to learn it, there's got to be an easier way.
Well, for sure. If you think about it, one of the things that a lot of people don't consider is the value of their vacation time. So, let's say you have the traditional 2 weeks. If you're lucky, maybe you've got a month and a half. If you're unlucky, maybe you have less. But you've only got so much time in a year to go RVing. So you got all your friends or your family, you're geared up, the fridge is full of food and everyone's going to take off. You don't want to be spending that time learning how hydraulic jacks work or learning why the fridge isn't cold or why your wife doesn't have hot water. You can do that, and YouTube can maybe help you with that, but is that how you really want to be spending that vacation time? And that's not the promise that people think they're buying when they buy an RV.
And that is probably why some people in the RV industry are they're not too keen on your course, because you're telling, it's like this show, we talk about the good, the bad, sometimes it's really bad, but RVing is great. It can be absolutely wonderful, but you got to know what you're getting into if you want to really become a happy camper. I think what you're talking about is, and what I talk about is slowing down the whole process. Slow down. You don't have to buy it in 30 minutes.
Well, it's so much more enjoyable when you understand what's going on. It is so much more when you have the confidence that you understand how it works. I have the confidence that I can fix it. I'm not stressed out if something's going to break or if it's not going to work, or I can do some basic troubleshooting. I'll share a statistic with you that I came upon on my own. Mm-hmm. I traveled the country. I spoke with a ton of dealerships, lots of their service bays, and anyone who owns an RV will understand the process of getting service on that RV. That's a different conversation. I learned I would ask the service manager, how many telephone calls in a day do you take? And if you've ever tried to call these people, sometimes it's hard to get through. How many of those phone calls do you take that you shouldn't have to take because it's knowledge that really the RVer should have? And he says easily half of our day, and I got this from all across the country from many, many different dealerships, half of our day is spent answering questions. Why don't my lights turn on? How come the air conditioner doesn't work? Can I plug it in while I'm doing this or while I'm doing that? And it's just very basic stuff, but that ties up service technicians and all of these service centers. So those of us trying to get winterized or those of us trying to get, other things taken care of, we're out 2 weeks before we can drop it off.
And then those people they get, I call them self-inflicted wounds. It's out of ignorance. People aren't stupid. They just don't know. And then they start blowing up the dealer when there's things that they should have known, but the dealer didn't take the time. It can be a mess. That's why it's always best to take a deep breath, slow down, take your time, and be responsible and own whatever you have done. To wake up, as I say, in a financial 15 or 20-year grave and the dealer put you in it when all this information was out there, it's not the manufacturer's fault. It's your fault as a consumer. So who is your typical the person that takes your courses, David?
Whoa, that's interesting. It's been all over the board. It's an easy answer to say, it's going to be your baby boomers. It's going to be your retirees or people at that stage in their life. And I've actually found it's a really healthy mix. The millennials are a big group of RV buyers. They kind of instinctively almost understand the value of an education because they want to get to the fun quicker. They buy things and they buy things that have a purpose. I want to do this with X. And so they're taking that mentality to the RV world. Well, if I want to do this, what do I have to know? The older generation becomes a little bit slower because, of course, there's a little more, hey, I should know this. I've got enough years under my belt. I can figure it out. But they are a good part of my base as well, of people that they just want to get to the fun faster. That's my whole tagline.
I love that. Get to the fun faster. Listen, we are out of time. How do people learn more about RV Masters and get these courses, David?
RVmasters.com, of course, is the website that they can go to. I publish those videos. I think it's the first video of each series is posted online on YouTube. If you go to RV Masters USA at youtube.com, that gives you an idea of what that training looks like, and then RVmasters.com for the rest of it.
Love it. Listen, we got to get you back on again soon. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you, all right?
You bet. Have a great afternoon.
All right, you take care. That's David Crossett with RV Masters. Smart guy, good stuff. Check into it. I'll be right back.